How did Columbine survive? It survived because of the kids.
We chose to go with the path of love, at least I have, and that's how I've always looked at it.
His life didn't matter just because of the way he died. It mattered because of the way he lived.
I was there when they wanted us to stop. He'll come up in the conversation. You see what I'm saying? So that's love. That's family love, you know what I'm saying? That's what keeps a family together.
I can say this without hesitation, Columbine community is stronger today than what it was prior to April 20th.
I think Columbine is also a symbol of resiliency. What we tell the kids is you are the product of that. You are the product of the most resilient school on the planet, most resilient community on the planet. So when you're going through hard times, remember your roots.
Just a chance to kind of show people who Columbine is now, what the Rebel family is all about, and show people that we are more than our worst day.
They have turned that tragedy around to help others and to make something wonderful out of something evil.
Would it be insensitive for me to say that love won?
No, not at all. I think faith and love both won. Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, I'm Jessica Porter, here in Clement Park in Littleton, Colorado, just steps away from the Columbine Memorial. Tragedy and grief are complicated. 25 years ago, 13 souls were taken from us too soon, and countless lives changed forever. There is heartache and sorrow that time will never heal. But over the past several months, we've had lengthy conversations with the families and those at Columbine High School on April 20th, 1999. Many of them, like Lauren Townsend's mother, Dawn, asking us to focus on what she calls the beauty that came from Columbine, and not just that one dark day. Telling their stories is an immense responsibility we here at Denver 7 are taking to heart. And over the next 30 minutes, we will share stories you may have never heard before, many about the kindness that comes out of the darkness. We begin with a face that you're familiar with, Frank DeAngelis. He was the principal before, during, and for several years after the tragedy at Columbine High School. He speaks to our Russell Haythorne about one key to his healing.
Frank DeAngelis.
I originally thought I wanted to be an accountant.
Was making a difference.
Someone told me, they said, Frankie, choose a job you love and you never have to work a day in your life.
Long before April 20th, 1999.
I decided to go back and be an educator. I loved cafeteria duty because I got to be with the kids.
It's just that what happened on that infamous date in 1999 perhaps made his life and legacy all the more purposeful.
The reason I get up every day is because of Cassie Bernal, Stephen Kernell, Corey DePuter, Callie Fleming, Matt Kechter, Daniel Mauser, Danny Rohrbaugh, Dave Sanders, Rachel Scott, Isaiah Schultz, John Tomlin, Lauren Townsend, and Kyle Velasquez. They give me the reason to do what I'm doing. 25 years, it's hard to believe. The thing that really does somewhat surprise me and amaze me, we're still talking about it.
Still talking about all the heroics that happened on that fateful day, like the actions of Frank.
My secretary runs in and she said, there's a report of gunfire. I said, this cannot be happening. This has to be a senior prank. I had been in Columbine for 20 years. I mean, I could count on two hands the number of fistfights we had. And all of a sudden I come out of my office and it's my worst nightmare, and glass is breaking behind me from the shots and the gunman's coming towards me, and the barrel of the gun looked about the size of the cannon.
In that moment, he knew he had to protect who he could.
As the gunman was coming towards me and coming towards the girls that were coming out of the gym, Dave Sanders comes up the hallway and that gunman spotted him. He turned around and shot Dave. And that split second probably saved our lives. And that's something that, and that's just who Dave was.
In the next instant, Frank and that group of about 20 girls bolted toward a back room in the gym.
Pull on the gym door and it's locked. And we're trapped in this little alcove. And as the gunman comes around the corner, I reach in my pocket and I had 30 keys on a key ring. The first key I stuck in, it opened it on the first try.
Frank then locked those girls in a storage area.
And we had a light moment for a minute. And I said, let's come up with a password. So all of a sudden these girls, well, what about orange? What about blue? What about pink? And I said, time out, let's just call it Rebels. And we kind of laughed at that point. There's that special bond.
He would eventually get them all out safely. A moment nothing short of miraculous.
I had very little to do in finding the key that day. And that key is hanging on the wall over there. That's the key.
His home office is now full of priceless photos and keepsakes.
There is hope. And I think that's what Columbine represents.
If ever there was a man built for a moment, and every moment after Columbine, it's Frank.
Even with everything went through, I'd go back and do it again.
He's often the first person leaders call after similar tragedies.
It may take a little bit away from me, but if I can help others, that's what it's about.
And while that might overwhelm and break most of us,
I want to show you something that helps me.
Frank handles it in stride.
It's called touchstone. So anytime like Parkland happened, I just grasp this, saying this isn't April 20th, 1999, and it takes me back to where I need to be. There's a stigmatism tied to counseling, and I'm still in counseling today. If you don't help yourself, you're not going to help others.
A man, a gift really, made for a profession, made for this moment.
They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
For Denver 7, I'm Russell Haythorne.
In the years after 1999, a group of Columbine teachers reimagined what April 20th could be. And on April 20th, 2017, 450 students participated in the first day of service. Each year, the event has grown, and in 2019, Governor Jared Polis declared April 20th a statewide day of service and recommitment. And last year, 1,500 of the school's 1,700 students took part. Everything from collecting items for a food bank to volunteering at the Humane Society, building trails for Jeffco Open Space, or simply helping a neighbor.
It's still sad, like we still mourn the loss, but it's turned it into more of a positive event.
It's a celebration now. It's a celebration of who we are as a school and who we are as a community. And it's a celebration of the lives that were lost as well. That's something that we talk about a lot, that when we're doing these acts of service, we are doing it to remember the 13 who are lost.
Last year's Day of Service generated more than 60 projects in 6 states and 10 countries. And of course, you can participate. Nothing is too small, just the simple concept that one act of kindness sparks another. For ideas, go to columbineserves.org. There is one truth we've heard from nearly everyone we've spoken to, that Columbine is a tight-knit community. The chant you just heard, "We are Columbine," a rallying cry to fiercely support each other. And there's probably no better example of that than the fact that there are 14 current staff members at Columbine High School today who lived through that terrifying day in 1999. 4 of them students at the time. Our Colette Bordelon speaks to 2 of those heroes who quite literally kept the team together.
I cannot imagine a better job.
High school football.
Football is a hard sport. Our kids have to work hard.
There's nothing quite like it.
It parallels life because life can be awful hard.
And the Columbine coaches.
I know God has put me in this situation. This has become a vocation more than a job.
Will always fight for their family.
There's no doubt about it. This was a special community before, but what happened on April 20th only entrenched that.
This is 7 News at 5.
A tragic day at Columbine High School. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ann Trujillo, live at Swedish Hospital.
Sometimes it feels like it happened just recently, and other times it seems like a million years ago.
It's an incredible place, a beautiful place, a special place where something really awful happened.
Archives at the Denver Public Library. There are the headlines we all remember.
Everybody knows where they were when 9/11 happened, and I think most people know where they were when Columbine happened.
But there's another story from that same year. Head coach Andy Lowry, who spent 30 seasons with the school, will always cherish.
They worked hard and stuck together and ended up winning a state championship for our first year in 1999. So,
a remarkable comeback for the Rebels, teenagers who found themselves again on that field.
Kind of wish we would have been able to celebrate more, but we had such heavy hearts that it felt some guilt. One of the kids that we lost was Matt Kector, and he was in our football program. Matt was a special person with high morals and high values and just how he treated people.
How did Columbine survive? It survived because of the kids.
And in their memories of the people they lost was a way to live.
I don't think the objective has ever been to let's go out and let the world know how great we really are. It's been, let's take care of each other, let's love each other. And through that, hopefully the legacy changes.
Because Columbine pride isn't what it sounds like.
It's not a look at me or notice me type of thing. Instead, what it is it's a look at others around me. It's a pride in one another. It's a dedication to friendships.
And sometimes in sports, there's a win you can't quite explain.
It's quite the coincidence. I don't know, because I don't know if anybody expected it in '99, and I'm telling you right now, it just kind of happened.
Since that first '99 win, the Rebels have taken home 6 championship titles total, all under Coach Lowry. Their most recent, late last year, almost 25 years since the shooting.
There are no tears of sorrow, that's for sure.
Would it be insensitive for me to say that love won?
No, not at all. I think faith and love both won, absolutely.
With photojournalist Colin Riley, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Many of the Columbine survivors have lived through the nightmares, endured years of rehabilitation and counseling, and have emerged stronger because of it all. Our Russell Haythorne sat down with Sean Graves, who has defied the odds and is a beacon of light.
Okay.
Sean Graves now knows.
I won't choke up, I don't think. We'll see. We'll find out.
Inner peace and recovery are difficult to achieve without forgiveness. And the person he needed to forgive the most was himself.
I repressed a memory from that day.
On the day of the Columbine shooting, Sean and his friend Lance were heading outside after lunch before a test, and Sean asked Danny Rohrbaugh to go with them.
Dan didn't want to go with us. I actually really wanted him to come with me because, well, he was a funny kid stressing out about this test, and I knew he'd get me laughing. And so I convinced him to go with us.
And for 20 years, Sean blamed himself for something he had no control over.
It was that memory that I repressed. I essentially asked him to walk to his death. And that, that's weighed on me.
As Sean describes it, the shooting began shortly after the trio, Danny, Lance, and Sean, exited the commons of Columbine High School and made their way toward the senior parking lot.
They're firing at me as I'm running.
He was halfway inside the doorway when he was struck again.
Entered the side of my backpack, a 9mm did, and kind of went in cattywampus or sideways into my spine, hit my T12.
In the days and weeks that followed, the Columbine massacre would grip the nation and the world.
I need to do more physical therapy before I'll know if I'll walk.
And although the road to recovery was long and grueling, Sean Graves made it his mission to defy the odds and prove many wrong.
A lot of them were just, if you do walk, it's going to be confined to a walker, or you're going to be using, locking leg braces like Forrest Gump did in the movie there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't satisfied with those responses, so I kept pushing, and I made it my goal.
He attended physical therapy nearly every afternoon at Craig Hospital for 3 years. And when Sean Graves graduated from Columbine High School in 2002, he brought the house down.
Sean Thomas Graves.
By walking across the stage to receive his diploma, Sean is now helping others who are recently disabled or injured.
As far as their life of recovery and learning to navigate life now without the use of their legs. I give them hope.
Hope in an ongoing journey.
We chose to go with the path of love, at least I have, and that's how I've always looked at it.
At Columbine High School.
I'm living life, making the best out of every situation that's handed to me.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
Look hard enough and you will always find a light. That is a quote from the diary of Rachel Joy Scott. She was the first person killed at Columbine on April 20th, 1999. At just 17 years old, her father describes her as an old soul. Her writing at such a young age, profound. She also had this theory, that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it'll start a chain reaction of the same. That theory has now been shared with 31 million people around the world. Listen as our Christian Lopez spotlights Rachel's challenge.
This is Rachel's backpack that was in her, was with her the day that she was killed. I can't even describe my emotions when I saw that it was blood-stained, had holes in it, and her final diary was in that backpack. And on the back of this diary, you can see where a bullet entered her diary beside the words, "I won't be labeled as average." That's become the mantra for millions of young people all around the world.
What Rachel's Challenge does is needed now more than ever. She challenged people in those writings to start a chain reaction of kindness and compassion. We give young people 5 challenges to better themselves and others. Our approach is entirely positive. So while we're a very effective anti-bullying, anti-school shooting, anti-youth suicide program, we're pro-kindness, compassion, respect, helping others, reaching out, and that's our approach.
We've reached now 31 million young people in live settings around the world. We know that if students will hear the story, it'll change their lives. When she was 13 years old, she had drawn a picture of her hands on the back of her dresser, and she said, "These hands belong to Rachel Joy Scott and will someday touch millions of people's hearts." There were 2 premonitions that she had. One was that her life was going to touch the lives of millions. The other premonition was the dark side. She believed that she was going to die at a young age. That's part of her story that's so powerful, that, that she would have those kind of premonitions. There's something God-powered about her story that touches the hearts of people at a very deep level.
As you walk the memorial here at Clement Park in Littleton, you'll read quotes like this one. "I hope people come here to this place to think about how they themselves can be better people, rather than come here to reflect on death." And thousands, probably millions, have. But in the years since the memorial was dedicated and opened to the public in September of 2007, it has withstood countless storms and weathering. This beautiful spot is in need of repair so that it can continue to be a place to remember, a place to reflect, and a place of peace. Words are fading, and bringing them back will cost thousands of dollars.
That's quite a big undertaking because you have to essentially sandblast all of the inlay out and then replace it. It's going to be way up in the tens of thousands of dollars. Like this crack in here that we've done some repairs to, the mortar is chipping out. Those are degrading some. These are the ones that they're all the old halogen lights. They tend to burn out. The systems have been degraded by some water in the ground, so some of those are shorting out. So it makes it difficult to see this wall out here.
We've started a Denver 7 Gives campaign to help. You can donate right now using the QR code on your screen or going to denver7.com. Just click on the Denver 7 Gives tab, then the Donate Now icon. Then select Help Update the Columbine Memorial in the drop-down menu. This Columbine community is truly remarkable, many stepping up to help, even down to some of the smallest members. Our Jason Grenauer shares a story about how one seemingly tiny act can add up to so much.
Everybody can do something. That's the story that these kids showed everyone else. That's what they showed me.
Lauren Townsend's mom lost her daughter at the high school, but found a glimmer of copper hope a few miles away at Columbine Hills Elementary with 5th grade teacher Steve Christensen.
We were talking about the concept of a million.
And a math lesson.
Well, why don't we try to gather 1 million pennies.
After the tragedy, it was an elementary school student who had the idea.
Right away, one of the students came up and said, what do you think of the idea of donating the pennies to the high school?
Fundraising was underway to raise more than $3 million to rebuild the high school's library. The students here saw an opportunity to support that in their own small way.
Right after that, the pennies started rolling in. Now we've got a renewed purpose and a renewed goal. And the goal was to build that library.
I was in fourth grade.
I was in first grade.
A penny drive that Columbine Hills alumni remember to this day.
Seeing this tank full of pennies was crazy.
I remember dumping them on Mr. C. I remember the desks we made with the pennies and CHS.
Many young students didn't fully understand the tragedy that had happened. They just wanted to help.
The little kids, especially the little second graders and first graders, they would say, we're bringing pennies. we're bringing our pennies for the library.
It was something that we did because it was all we could do at the time.
Columbine Hills Elementary ultimately collected
somewhere around 500,000, $500,000.
500,000 pennies that were donated to the Hope Columbine Memorial Library.
That's 500,000 acts of love from little kids who were never told they couldn't do it.
It was a come together penny. It was a rebuilding resilience penny. It was a penny of love.
To be a part of kind of the funds to be able to have this new library, to be a part of that was really, really special.
Many students would go on to attend the high school and study in that library. To this day, they remember and recognize the power of those pennies.
Don't think a penny means nothing. Nobody told those kids at Columbine Hills a penny meant nothing. And look what they did.
Lauren's mom, Dawn, now speaks to groups across the country. She still mentions Columbine Hills and their penny drive.
What the kids did in this school with their pennies, that was peace. That was kindness. That was everyone doing a little piece of something kind.
A math lesson, collecting the smallest things, added up to a lesson in hope.
Those 500,000 times were sparks of light that gave me hope and told me evil didn't win.
Another piece of beauty that continues to grow from the darkness, the 3 philanthropic funds established after the tragedy are still awarding grants and scholarships to students, teachers, and nonprofits today. The Lauren Townsend Memorial Wildlife Fund, the Never Forgotten Scholarship, and the Columbine Memorial Scholarship have awarded a combined $2.5 million to date. Grief is a tricky thing. Every family, every individual deals with it differently. Some may want to share their stories, others keep it closer to the vest. There is one family we haven't heard from in decades, but now Isaiah Scholl's father, Michael, says it's time sitting down with our Micah Smith.
You're ready now
I'm ready.
To continue speaking.
I'm
out.
ready. This Let's Stomp Out Hate is finna be dormant again. Now it's finna open back up. I'm finna open it back up. It's a nonprofit organization that I had going all over the world. We all brothers and sisters when you look at it. We all members of the same race. That's the human race. And by my son being one of those victims, I feel it's my duty to start it out. I think it's my duty to say, let's start stomping out this hate. Let's start stomping out this violence. Let's claim victory back.
Michael Scholl's nonprofit, Let's Stomp Out Hate, is still in the very beginning stages of reopening, so we'll keep you updated on its progress and the kindness it brings. Mr. Scholl shared much more with Micah about what the last 25 years have been like for his family. To watch the entire interview, you can go to our website, denver7.com/Columbine. There you'll also find expanded versions of all of the stories we shared today, as well as hear from first responders and an in-depth conversation about how to talk to your children about what happened. All of it on Denver7.com. Each of these photos, frozen in time, have probably become so familiar to you now, 25 years later. Their loved ones opened up their photo albums to share with you the wonderful lives they lived before that day and reflected on who they might have become today. We conclude with this tribute to the 13.
Of course, I think about them all the time. And you never stop thinking about them or what they'd be doing now. I think about what kind of an uncle he would have been to my kids. And he also did want to be a farmer or own his own car shop.
Yeah.
So I could picture him living in the country. He loved the countryside.
This is Connie Sanders, one of Dave Sanders' daughters. If Dave Sanders' dad were around now, he would likely be coaching and enjoying the heck out of his grandchildren and just enjoying time with my mom. When we think about what he did that day, we realize that he saved generations of families when he saved hundreds of students.
Daniel's mom, Sue, describes his engaging smile and beautiful blue eyes that would light up a room, calling him sensitive and caring, always with a quick, comforting hug, a funny kid with an infectious laugh, so full of questions and wanting to know how things work.
Lauren was an incredible daughter, sister, friend. If you had known her, she would have been your best friend. She was incredibly giving. She loved making you laugh. She was goofy. She wanted to save the world. She wanted to save animals. She wanted to go out and save the earth.
Kyle's inscription at the memorial reads, "A true friend to those who chose to take the time to know him. He loved his brother, family, cats, ice cream, pizza, and riding his bike. He always smiled, forgave, and saw the good in those around him."
I love talking about Rachel as a sister. She was feisty and fun and sarcastic and silly. She also had an old soul and could be very deep and thoughtful. I wish I could have seen who Rachel became. All of us were a little bit different from each other, and she was outgoing and had big dreams.
Cassie's parents, Brad and Misty, wrote that Cassie had a sweet, loving, and accepting spirit, and she loved her church youth group activities. Cassie dreamed of becoming an obstetrician, wanting to make the world a better place by delivering babies.
All I can say, he was Mr. Beautiful. He'd been a big-time music executive, and I promise you he'd have made it way better than I could have thought I could do it. And he probably would have been a comedian, probably would have been in the movies right now, because he had the goods.
You've asked us to share a bit of Matthew with you, which is always so hard to do when you love someone, to try to put them into a few words. He was really good at math and science, and he dreamed of attending the school of mines or CU and probably becoming an engineer. He loved to play sports, and being outdoors was his happy place. He loved to fish. He loved his family, especially his little brother, friends, and his teammates.
Stephen has been described as a Star Wars fan who watched the movies so much that he could speak the lines along with the actors. He also dreamed of being a Navy Top Gun and piloting an F-16.
He was a really intelligent kid, straight A student, very, very shy, very gentle, a bit nerdy, someone who loved pets, who loved video games. He was not athletic at all, and yet he joined the cross-country team. He was very, very introverted, and yet he joined the debate team to help overcome that. And I think that's a great lesson for everyone, to take on the weaknesses.
Corey's inscription from the memorial says he was an outdoorsman at heart. He loved the mountains, camping with his family, hunting, golfing, and fly fishing at Yellowstone. He was saving up for his first car and could have a whole room laughing. His goal was to become an officer in the Marine Corps.
This is Dee. Here are some things I wish you knew about Kelly. She was gentle, quiet, and shy, stubborn, funny, and thoughtful. She was learning to play the guitar. Ode to Joy was recognizable. Her laughter would fill the upstairs as she'd sit cross-legged on her floor, watching black and white reruns of I Love Lucy. Kelly had discovered a love of writing. She wrote numerous short stories and poems and dreamed of one day being a published author. Kelly signed off all her emails and letters with Keep Smiling, and in her memory, that is what we all try to do.